Alright, people, review of the week time. So, let's start with reviewing. I was going to say reviewing the show that happened on the Zone up there in Birmingham last night. It was headlined by Sonny Edwards versus Galal fight. I have to be honest, that's the only fight that I've actually seen back. Kieran Conway won a split decision over Ryan Kelly. Conan Walker beat Lewis Ritson. Callum Smith actually made his return to the ring, and that's actually one that I do need to go back and watch. It was in an 8-rounder. He was just slightly above the light heavyweight limit. I'll say slightly, a few pounds above it, but this was an 8-rounder, so they normally don't focus too much on the weights, kind of hitting 175 on the mark for that. But I haven't actually seen how Callum Smith looked. At the end of the day, right, you're not really going to get much of an assessment from Callum Smith when he's fighting a guy who going into this fight was 20-14 with 9 stoppage losses prior to this one. You know, it's not going to give you, he's not won a fight in over a year, and he's been beat by guys like Boacek. I mean, this guy was knocked out by Boacek in 2019. So this guy lost to Callum Smith at light heavyweight. Callum Smith weighing in well over the light heavyweight limit, and he's losing to Boacek down at 154. He's been in there with the likes of Willie Monroe, Yana Bekeleem Kanuli. So this guy early on, Caleb Plant stopped by him. So early on, this guy was pretty much a 150 pound, 160 pounder. So, you know, you're not going to be able to really gauge much from Callum Smith's performance. I'll have a look at it just to kind of see, but yeah, against that level of opposition, you know, you're not really, you know, you can't just say, oh, Callum Smith's looking good. You'd be like, well, yeah, I mean, like, you know, he's had probably harder sparring sessions than he would have had fights, I would imagine anyway. I see the main event, Sonny Edwards versus Galal fight. You know, going into this fight, I was actually quite intrigued by this main event because I felt that on paper, and it's a really strange one, isn't it, that Galal is 31 years old. He's the older fighter, but he is the prospect. You know, Sonny Edwards being 28 years old, so not an old man, even by standards of the flyweight division, that's not necessarily that old. But he was seen as kind of the vet almost, the veteran in there. That's how it was in the build-up. But I remember thinking, like, at their best, Sonny Edwards should win this fight. The question is, what does Sonny Edwards have left in the tank? Because people will look at the Bam Rodriguez fight and they'll say, oh yeah, he took a beating in that. Well, he did take a beating in that. He took a very bad beating in it. But it's not even just that fight. There's been other fights in his career, like the Felix Alvarado fight, where he's won it, he's looked good, but he's shifted some punishment. I know he has those movements, you know, that slick boxing, and people tend to focus on that, but what you don't see is he does get hit a bit, you know. So he's had some tough fights. He is a distance fighter, so he knows himself it's not going to be an early night's work. He's going to have to go 36 minutes pretty much every time he fights, unless he gets stopped. So, you know, Sonny was going into this fight, we were wondering, what does he have left in the tank? I thought if he had enough left, or if he had, you know, even a fraction of what he had, probably would have been enough to get by Galal Yafai. Well, the first 10-15 seconds, Edwards was on the back foot, he was rocked, he was hurt, and he had a rotten first 2 rounds. And then, now I knew this prior to watching this fight, but I wanted to hear it with my own ears, him say to his corner man that, look, I don't want to be here. At that point, now I know his corner man tried to, you know, motivate him, stop feeling sorry for yourself, this, that, and the other. When a fighter says that, you know, that's really it. You know, I mean, there's, you know, you could say stick a fork in him at that point. And at that point, the corner, I mean, I know this fight only went 6 rounds. The referee was the one who ultimately ended up jumping in, stopping it. Sonny Edwards getting hit with a barrage of punches in the 6th round. He wasn't punching back. And he'd pretty much been handled no problem by a fight up until then. And there comes a point where, look, the fighter doesn't have it in his heart, doesn't have it in his soul to do this. I don't think you're going to motivate him. So I understand not immediately pulling them out of the fight. I get that, but after another round and he's telling you he's not got it in him, and he's telling you he doesn't want to be there, under those situations, just let him go, let him finish. You know, I don't really begrudge fighters quitting if, you know, one, if they've been in a hard fight, but if, again, I've never been in his position. I've never gone through how many pro camps has Sonny Edwards been to? Over 20 pro camps. If he feels there's nothing left there, then there's nothing left there. Now, he's essentially retired after this fight. You know, he's basically been saying that. Retiring at 28 years old, you know, he genuinely, he's not been around a crazy amount of time. He made his pro debut in 2016, so you're talking only about 8 years. quite a short career, especially for a top level fighter. When you consider, I think Terence Crawford. Now Terence Crawford may very well be finished as well, as in retiring soon. But Crawford, I believe, started his career in, was it 2008? Thereabouts, 2007, 2008. So a long time before Sonny Edwards, but still going. Edwards has said he's had problems with injuries, especially for this camp, and the wear and tear is just it's just too much on his body, is what he's saying. So, look, I can't begrudge a fighter wanting to retire. I can't begrudge him going out like that. Yeah, that's really all I got to say on it. So, Galal Yafai does the job on Sonny Edwards. They were pictured after the event, all happy, everything good. But yeah, I've met Sonny Edwards in person. I wouldn't say necessarily that I'd enjoy per se watching him fight to a crazy extent. It's not that I would turn off if Sonny Edwards was on, because he's not the most entertaining. I've enjoyed some of his fights, but I am more of a kind of, I like big punchers. And although Sonny Edwards from a technical point of view is a very, very good fighter, and best believe now that he is retired, if he plans on following through with it, punditry. I think that goes without saying with Sonny Edwards. Punditry is the next, I think that's the next stop on whatever road he's on, punditry, because he is a very good pundit. So everyone say he's a decent commentator, he's a good pundit, he has a good understanding of boxing. So that's definitely where he'll be going. Moving on, the Alexander Usyk Tyson Fury trailer was revealed today. Actually, it was revealed about an hour ago. I like it. Is it one of my favourite Saudi trailers? No, it was an interesting one. The cameo by John Fury was I like that. I thought that was interesting. Is it one of the better trailers I've seen? No, I think Beterbiev Bivol. Do you know what? Someone said it, and they're completely right, by the way, as well. I can't remember who it was. That the trailers are so good, you kind of wish it was a movie. And you do kind of think that when you watch them, because it's movie quality production, easily. And you look at that and you're like, I would watch that if it was a movie. I would. I like the trailer. Again, it's not one of the worst, but it's not one of my favorite ones. I think the two best I've seen have been the 5v5. I love that trailer. I thought that was really good. And obviously the Beterbiev Bivol. That to me is the best. That to me is goes without saying, that's the best one. This is kind of, if we're going to do them in tiers, kind of upper tier. It's a pretty good one. It does lead me to believe that we are definitely going to get this fight, I would imagine. It's already been announced, all that good stuff, but a lot of people, even with the May date, and I understand why, and a lot of people are still very kind of sus about, will this fight actually take place even now? I've said it once and I'll say it again, I do think it will take place. I don't see any pullouts happening now. We're only 21 days away. We're actually about 3 weeks away. So I think we are going to get this fight December the 21st. And listen, this month, the month of December now, is going to be I'm just going to say it, it's going to be very heavily Usyk Fury. There's going to be a lot of breakdowns. There's going to be a lot of stuff about the fight on this channel, breakdowns, predictions, etc. I've got 2 thumbnails that I have waiting to record when I get home, because I'm going to do it when I get home to Ireland this week. Some reasons why Fury wins, reasons why Usyk wins, amongst other things. There's a lot of good stuff coming for that fight in the immediate future, and I'm looking forward to it. I really am. I think that it's really taken to kind of the last couple of weeks to really, I've noticed a big kind of upturn in the interest in boxing, and I think it coincides with this fight. I really do, just like the last one. Although that was something like I never even seen. That was incredible. But that is that. Cesar Zayas has apparently accepted an offer to fight Virgil Ortiz next. He said, they gave me an hour to say yes. I said yes in 1 minute. This is stemming from the fact that apparently Boots Ennis versus Virgil Ortiz is gone, dead so. So it won't happen on February 22nd, which people saying that, is this the greatest boxing card of all time? Look, we haven't had an official announcement yet on who's reportedly going to be on it. There's been no word of a press conference as of yet. But in my opinion, was it one of the greatest cards? It may still be, you never know, we don't fully know. But if it was what was rumoured, then it's certainly up there. But that fight right there, losing that takes a lot of the intrigue out of it. Boots Ennis speaking on the collapse of the fight over a dispute was the weight. Yes. I've seen rumours from Boots, and I've seen rumours on social media, just like y'all did as far as the fight with me and Virgil. I was unaware that alleged negotiations was being made on my end. From here on out, if it didn't come from me and only me, don't believe it, and I will address if I'm staying at 147 or moving to 154 at a later date and time. That's an interesting one. Right. 154 seemed to be the obvious pick for this fight because Boots Ennis, although he's a champion at 147, it's no secret that he's been struggling a bit to make that weight. Doesn't help that he's the IBF champion, which has the rehydration clause in it for the morning after. Virgil Ortiz, when they say killed himself to make weight, well, he damn near did on more than one occasion to make weight to 147. So for me, that was kind of off the table, 147 pounds. And especially if you're talking with someone like Virgil Ortiz, it's not just the fact that he struggled so hard to make weight. He hasn't made 147 in 2 years now. So especially when a fighter moves up and they've been struggling to make the weight below, after a couple of years to try and go back down to it, that's a bad idea. That's a real bad idea. And you just don't want that. You don't want a fighter going into a fight where he's left it all in the gym, he's left it all on the scales, and then he's got nothing left on fight night. We've seen that happen before. Eddie Hearn has signed a heavyweight, Taramona, I think they say that guy's name, fight alongside Tasman Fighters and Spencer Brown's Gold Star to fight in the zone. The Australian heavyweight is 4-0 as a pro, and I have to say, I looked at his box record. I don't think he's fought since 22. It's a new heavyweight. Eddie Hearn needs more heavyweights. It certainly does. Doesn't matter where they're from. He needs some more heavyweights urgently. He needs them flipping urgently, big time. Now, I've already done a video on this, but Chris Eubank Jr., there's rumours that he's going to be fighting Erislandy Lara sometime next year, more than likely in the UK. Okay, that's good. Where's that leave Conor Benn? And when I say that's good, because it means then that fight is probably off the table. Thank God for that. Well, Eddie Hearn has declared they've made an offer to Mario Barros for him to defend his world title against Conor Benn next. He's insisted that Eubank is no longer entertaining them, which is not a bad thing. That's genuinely not a bad thing that Chris Eubank Jr. is no longer entertaining negotiations with Team Benn, because at the end of the day, he's a middleweight, Ben's a welterweight. Fight a middleweight champion, Ben, fight a welterweight champion. Just do your own thing. This is dragged out for over 2 years now. I'm not even going to start with the UCAT situation, although they have said that they will not be appealing the suspension, or I should say overturning of it. So Ben is free to fight in the UK should he so wish, or probably will fight in Saudi Arabia, because that is obviously under the auspices of the British Boxing Board of Control. So Ben's in the clear. And at the end of the day, whether you like Conor Benn or don't, this whole thing is dragged out for 2 years. He's not fought in the UK since April 22. I think at this point, there's just no use. I understand if it had been mid-23, turn around and digging your heels in if you were bored. I get that, and I would have been 100% behind them. Now it's just kind of like, it's been it's been 2 years. Just leave it. Just leave it. It's done. He's served a kind of ban without serving a ban, so to speak. Him against Barros, I'd probably still make Mario Barros favourite, but it's a winnable fight for Conor Benn at world level at 147 pounds, definitely. Gervonta Davis, Lamont Roach, the fight that no one asked for, has been rescheduled for the 1st of March in the Barclays Centre. Oh, it'll be on pay-per-view, of course it will. Yeah, Tank Davis, it's just, what is the point? I genuinely, what's the point with Tank Davis? I mean, what's the point with Tank Davis anymore? With Tank Davis, it's just like, this guy is happy to get 100,000 buys on pay-per-view, fight guys nondescript, or if he does step up, have all these rehydrations, weight, everything, and that's it. And I think at this minute in time now, I'm just kind of done. I like Tank Davis as a fighter. I think he's very talented. I think he's got a lot of potential, but what's the point? He's 30 years old. As I think Hatman said, 30-year-old prospect. So there you go. What's the point? He's been world champion since 2017. There you go. Vladimir Klitschko had been reportedly in talks to return and challenge Daniel Dubois for the IBF title next. Thankfully, those talks are gone. Thank God for that. We don't want that, obviously. We definitely don't want that. Thoughts on Klitschko versus Dubois? I wouldn't have liked to have seen it personally. I think Klitschko would have been annihilated pretty quickly. I think Daniel Dubois could have potentially stopped him earlier than Corey Sanders did back in 2003. Listen, Father Time is undefeated, and Vladimir not being in the ring for over 7 years there thereabouts, not being in the ring for over 7 years, 48 years old, pushing 50. Yeah, he keeps himself in shape, and yeah, there's still probably a little bit of ability there. He's not as regressed as much as say Mike Tyson or someone like that, but time waits for no man, and you can't just go straight back in with someone like a Daniel Dubois. You're talking nearly it's over 20 years age gap, isn't it? He's 48 and Dubois is 26, so 20. Michael Mora, when he lost to George Foreman, Mora was a light heavyweight who came up to heavyweight. He had chin problems at heavyweight. He was a decent heavyweight. He wasn't a weak champion, but he went in there with Foreman. He got lax at the 10th round. He got hit with a right hand and taken out. Foreman was losing that fight comprehensively, and he did absolutely zilch after his heavyweight champion. He beat Axel Schultz, a disputed decision against Axel Schultz, who was European level at best. Klitschko ironed him out. Vladimir actually way back when, in the 90s as well, I think, and fought Crawford Grimsley or someone like that, his name was, Shannon Briggs, and actually that was disputed because many felt George Foreman should have won that fight, but you get what I mean. He didn't do much after winning it. He never went on a tear, and I think that record of Foreman, and he was nearly 46. I don't think he was far off his 46th birthday. I can't see that being broken anytime soon. Unless there's a seriously weak champion, and even then, you look at someone like Zhilei Zhang. He's 41 years old. Yeah, he's got a punch on him, but I can't see him beating or even coming close to breaking that record or someone like that. I can't see Zhilei Zhang being around for any longer than maybe a year or so. If you put him in there against Bacoli or someone like that, he's going to struggle bad. Derek Chisora will face Otto Wallin in a heavyweight clash on February the 8th in the Manchester Arena. That's just what we're going to call it now, the Manchester Arena. And look, the Miller fight was a more entertaining fight, and on paper I preferred that fight, but I don't necessarily dislike this fight in terms of I think that it's more winnable for Derek Chisora, because I think Wallin's just going to be negative, and I think that he will probably get a lot of good grace, Derek Chisora, and will probably get a decision. Even if he doesn't deserve it, he'll probably get the nod. I would just imagine anyway. I think that's pretty much the news, so I'm going to leave it there. I don't want this one to drag out too long. Just want to give a big shout out to everyone for locking in. Come Wednesday, I'll be home in Dublin for a little while. I haven't been home in 2 months nearly, so I'm looking forward to getting home, seeing some friends and family, and we'll see the old background make a brief return for a couple of days. I'm obviously bringing my recording equipment. I fly out of London Wednesday evening, and I fly back to London on Monday evening. So I'm home from Wednesday to Monday, back in Dublin. So we get some good time at home. I'm looking forward to seeing friends, family. I'm actually looking forward to driving again, because I haven't driven since I moved over here. I just get trains everywhere. So looking forward to that. And of course, there's always going to be a lot of content coming up this week. As I said, we've got some Fury Usyk stuff to work on. I'm really looking forward. I really love being able to do these film studies with the actual footage in it. It's so nice to be able to do, because it helps me talk about it real time, and it kind of helps, just bring it out. I just really enjoy it. So look forward to them. Hope you enjoyed everything else, all this chatting, this rambling. Hope you enjoyed it. A lot of people do, so there you go. I'll keep doing it. Hope you enjoyed it. Smash the like button, hit subscribe, all that good stuff, and until later, peace.